Slideshow.
I literally transposed two characters in that identifier. And instead of bouncing that terminal, I essentially bounced that CICS region, which had 2,000 people in it.
System.
2,000 people in this company of 4,000 were idled at that moment.
Term ID.
2,000 people were idled for 3 hours while they had to figure out how to roll back transactions that didn't complete. They had to figure out how to IPL that mainframe. IPL, initial program load, is essentially restarting the mainframe. So I caused 2,000 people in this company to sit idle for 3 hours. Figure out how much that costs.
Text. Not so fun when you transpose digits.
To add fuel to the fire, I went home thinking, I'm gonna get fired. I'm gonna come back in tomorrow, my boss is gonna call me into his office and fire me. Came back in the next day. And I didn't have a voicemail from my boss. I had a voicemail from the CEO of the company asking to meet with me that day at 10 o'clock that morning. I start my shift at 7. I'm sweating bullets. I walk up to his office at 9:45 because I don't want to keep him waiting. And I go in and he's like, "Do you know why you're here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm guessing this is my last meeting." He's like, "No, it's the first meeting of the rest of your career here. You just cost us $100,000 or more idling these people. That's a lesson we're going to have to learn how to prevent in the future." So I made this mistake. I'm going to hand this off and try not to make any more mistakes.
Sean stands next to Mandy Morrow. The slide changes.
Okay, so what is a failure to you? Now, what was the failure in your situation?
So there were a couple. I made the innocent mistake of transposing 2 digits in the terminal ID. So according to the dictionary definition, yeah, I failed to accomplish what I had set out to do, which is release that terminal session. Well, not quite. I did release that terminal session, but I also kicked 2,000 other people out of the system for 3 hours.
Okay, so you did a very small failure.
I did, yes. My mistake was small.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, I wrote a SQL statement that was way too complicated and took down the entire web server. So I had to go call somebody. That was a longer failure. It wasn't a larger failure, but it was a longer one. What's that list?
Text. How is failure defined? Oxford English Dictionary.
Sorry. What's next? Okay, so
Mistakes do not equal failures.
the larger failures, so you're going to see a slide in a minute that defines what goat rodeo is, and I'm trying not to say what that is a euphemism for. But so you made a personal mistake, but then there was a structural issue around you.
Yes, like why is a help desk agent able to shut down a CICS region by mistyping 2 digits on the screen? It shouldn't happen. There should be some kind of structural protection in place.
Absolutely.
There wasn't.
I can hear the panic in your
Yes.
voice. So, well, as we're thinking about setting up our systems, because we're all IT folks, like, how can we set those guardrails up so that these things don't happen, so that the intern can't take down the production database and that sort of thing. So, this is my slide. So there's scale to failure. This is
So I made a whoops.
Smallest.
In the grand scheme of things, I made a whoops. And that whoops cascaded all the way up to Goat Rodeo. Some people might use the word cluster. Something.
I was not permitted to put that on the slide.
Whoops. Snafu. Dumpster fire. Foo bar. Goat rodeo.
To me, so whoops is transposing 2 digits. But say I did it on my computer, I can fix it. That's easy. A snafu might be, okay, the team can fix it. But you see this dashed line? That might be where now you gotta call somebody. You gotta call your tech group, or I gotta call my boss to try to figure it out. But, not too bad. Then we get the foo bar. Maybe something very bad has gone wrong, and then of course the larger Goat Rodeo.
Yeah, in my situation, what happened was terminal release should be like this. when you release the terminal, the command executes immediately. You should get my command prompt back. I didn't, it just sat there for like 15 seconds. And then finally, I turned to the person next to me. Her name was, and still is, I talked with her a few years ago, actually. Her name is Carolyn Solandi. She was my mentor when I joined the help desk from the typing pool. I turned to her and I'm like, hey, how long does it take to release a terminal again? And she's like, it's immediate. And she comes over and she's like, she looks at me, she looks back at her machine, and then suddenly down there's like 300 people that work in the area that we were in. You start to see the prairie dogging. And she's looking down and I see her eyes go wide and she's like, what did you do?
Mandy points.
What did you do? That's exactly what she said. She's like, what did you do? I was like, I issued the command to release terminal. In this case, we'll say it was 0604. She's like, no, you put 0640 for the terminal ID. And she's like, I've got to call the data center. So she called the data center and she comes back on the phone. She calls the data center. First off, their number was busy. Finally, she got through and she's like, yeah, something else is going on. I don't know exactly what happened. Finally, operations comes up and tells me, they're like, we have to bounce the whole mainframe because someone issued a command to do something. And I was like, I did it. Sorry, man, hold on. But yeah, it was a total goat rodeo at that moment. Did not feel great, especially since you did it. You made the mistake.
Okay, so now y'all have a piece of paper. I would like you to fold it lengthwise.
Changes slide. Text. Exercise 1.
Your first test, lengthwise. If you do it the other way, you'll fail.
Sean walks away from the screen.
What's happening?
Get out.
Yes. Yeah.
Sean walks across the room.
Who needs paper? Does anyone else need paper? Pen?
So
I can't tell. No.
So on the left side of your paper, write failures at the top.
On the slide, a waveform runs through a heart.
But I laid it down on the left side of the way. And then on the right side, put lessons learned or wisdoms or something good. Wisdom.
Sean returns.
We're going to take a few minutes, and I want you to write down. Nobody's going to see these. These are just for you. You don't have to share any of these. Write down a few times where you failed, made a mistake, and then on the other side, what did you learn? What wisdom did you gain from that? What wisdom did you gain from your rebooting the mainframe?
So I'll say that, obviously the wisdom that I got was sometimes speed is not the bottom line factor.
Previous slide.
We did implement a rule where when we were resetting when we were bouncing terminals, the person who received the call was not the person who would issue the command to do it. We didn't restructure the help desk, we restructured that process so that if I needed to reset a terminal, I would enlist the help of another help desk agent. I would give them the terminal ID, they would read it back. I would confirm it with the user. And I would confirm it with the person. And they would release the terminal. That's actually, that particular way of doing things is, it's actually used in nuclear power plants. That's the way they issue commands in the reactor control room today. And it's been found to scientifically found to reduce the chances of error to like 0.08%.
I think nuclear is probably a new.
Yeah.
While you're writing your failures down, if you want to think about the scale, again, this you don't have to share it, it's just more of an amusing thing, like where was that?
On the slide, a yellow burst in the center is labeled whoops. A beige cloud with a dotted outline surrounds the yellow burst and is labeled snafu. A dark red oval surrounds the cloud and is labeled dumpster fire. A blue cloud surrounds the oval and is labeled foobar. A purple cloud surrounds the blue cloud and is labeled goat rodeo.
We have one question online. I think. Oh, no, never mind.
Sorry.
Disappeared.
Okay. Wrong session.
The screen changes to the next slide, text, causes of failure.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna look at causes of failure.
Actually, before we go on, so if you take a look at your failures, your mistakes, and look at the lessons learned, I guess one question I would ask you would be, which of those two sides of that paper is more important? Is it more important to focus on the mistake, or is it more important to focus on the lessons learned?
So the second part of this exercise is to tear the piece of paper apart and then decide if you want to throw one of the pieces away. This is your decision, something to think about. I'm just not going to get up and do that right now. That's strange, and I want to use piece of paper later. So, but would you throw away those lessons? Would you throw away the failures? Would you keep them both? Would you just toss them both? So.
Being too busy or running at 100% capacity.
So what are some of the causes of failure? But obviously, in my case, I wouldn't say it was being too busy, I would say it was being too fast.
Poor planning, lack of strategy.
I would say that sometimes poor planning can cause failure, lack of strategy. How many of you here in the IT world have been told to do something and you don't ask, what are you trying to accomplish? Because that's a key question. Someone may come to you and already have formed an idea of what they want to do, what they think they want to do. And as you listen to them, you may realize that what they want to do doesn't deliver what they want to accomplish.
That never happens. What do you think?
Do you happen to have a story about that?
I'm a software developer. It's every meeting ever. What do you want? And then what do you think you want? What do you really need?
So, you know, yeah, lack of knowledge or skill can cause failure. A fear of failure itself can also cause you to trip up. And stop you from progressing in your career, whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Sean and I have both been co-leads for leadership improv, and there we have to embrace the bomb. And if you stand up there afraid of failure, you'll freeze. So if it's going poorly, you just have to keep going.
I'm gonna have to pull you back over here so we can be in frame together. I know you like being on camera. I totally get it. I understand.
Okay.
Why does failure bother us?
So, you know, why does failure bother us? Why was I bothered when my colleague Carolyn pointed at me and said, you messed up, why? Anyone in here have a guess of why I was feeling terrible at that moment? I had no clue that I idled 2,000 people at that point. All I thought was I made a simple mistake. I had shame. I felt shame. The fact that I have not repeated this story before last week tells you how shameful I felt about this. We've all made mistakes. Not all of us have idled a company. Although maybe some of us have.
Next slide.
Okay, so I pulled this slide from the imposter syndrome book or imposter phenomenon, because I think a lot of us feel bad about failure and for different reasons.
Yeah, we have to be perfect in our jobs. It's the expectation.
Perfectionist.
Or maybe you think you can do everything and you get upset when you're trying to do everything and you drop something. There's your failure.
Superman.
Or you're the IT expert in the room, right?
Expert.
Everyone in here knows how to do everything in IT, right? Every single one of us, you're the expert. And if you don't know, how do you approach that? How do you make yourself confident enough to be able to approach that?
Natural genius.
Or maybe you think you should already know it and you shouldn't struggle and you should pick it up really fast. I see this with my kids. So like if they don't pick it up immediately, they're not gonna follow. Oh,
Or
I'm gonna try it.
Or something else endemic to IT oftentimes is we have I need to not use this phrase. We sometimes have lone wolf syndrome, meaning we're the one that has to accomplish it all.
Soloist.
Frankly speaking, in the director role that I'm in right now, I have someone who feels like they need to do everything all the time and they need to be the one that controls everything. I have worked with this person for 6 years. I have tried to break them of that habit. I can't. And sometimes it's just built in, and sometimes it's just there. So sometimes what we have to do is build systems around that to help others learn that knowledge.
Next slide.
All right, there are other reasons that failure feels so awful. Perhaps someone who knows a few. I spent a lot of time looking at the sort of toxic cultures particularly in IT. We set ourselves up for, okay, you can't be accepted as a Mac guy if you don't poo-poo the PC guys, or you can't be a proper Python developer if you're not like making fun of PHP developers. That's all of IT, right? We're always sort of like, well, at least we're not that person. At least we're not that far behind in our development. Not that where I am has software that's way behind.
Other reasons failure feels so awful. Toxic IT culture.
And then how are we reinforcing those things? How are we setting ourselves up for this, to feel this shame about, no.
Reputational risk.
Sometimes your reputation's at risk. I will tell you that for the rest of my career on the help desk, which actually was very short, I left 6 months later of my own volition. It had nothing to do with that particular scenario, but it had to do with the paycheck. I was in it for the money. But essentially what happened after that was they designed a rule based on me, which is not a fun place to be. It's not fun to have a rule named after you. The Bossinger rule, we can't reset terminals on our own anymore because of something he did. Yep.
Career-ending move.
And I thought, maybe rightly so, that it was a career-ending move on my part. What I actually learned in this case was if I take down the company and I'm not fired for it, I'm working for the right company. And part of the reason I'm an IT director today is exactly because of that lesson, because I embody it in how I teach people. And it's something that I try to bring to the table every day.
Personal reasons.
And then, of course, there's personal reasons.
Sure, we all have baggage attached to, the voice in our heads, and who is that voice? And we don't need to get too far into that, but we know we all have it, the inner critic.
Next slide. Text. What can we do about it?
Now, what do we do that?
Next slide. Thought exercise.
So, how do you react when others fail? Do you punish people? Do you punish people for failing? Are you the person in the coffee line that berates the barista? I don't know how the rest of you behave, but I look at that person askance and think to myself, dude, you're the one having the bad day here, not the one behind the counter. Do you happen to shame meetings? Do you happen to shame colleagues in meetings because they failed?
Even jokingly, sometimes we know people for a long time and start to get a little jokey with them, and it's like, are we reinforcing what's going on here? So.
Or do you follow up with them and help people recover? Do you participate in helping fix the problem? Or do you, I think I know the next slide. Or do you look at them like this?
Eye rolling.
Do you roll your eyes at them? I mean, these are all microaggressions that people pick up on.
If you have teenagers, I'm assuming you're from this. Apologies for my ridiculous face. Or what? Condescension, like why would you even think about it that way? Stop. They have a perspective. Just sort of yes and acknowledge what they're saying. Maybe they have something more interesting that you didn't think of. Or
seriously?
We don't just seriously, did you really just bring that up at this meeting? Like we want to make sure that we are not reinforcing that shame. We don't want people to feel that way. We want them to feel like their contributions matter.
Next slide. How do you react to your own failures?
So how do you react to your own failures? Do you get angry with yourself? Do you berate yourself?
Do you become overly distraught? Do you feel shame?
Do you ruminate? Do you talk to yourself? Do you talk down to yourself?
How about wake up in a cold sweat at 2 a.m. like,
Yes, I've done that. I'm sure.
30 years ago.
I'm sure everyone in here. No, I don't. I
don't ruminate on that one.
no, I don't ruminate on that one. We don't use IBM 3090 600Js anymore. So yeah, don't have to worry about that. We use Workday.
Next slide. Let's try distance self-talk. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
I still have a little bit of improviser. So how many of you in here, just a quick show of hands, if you're comfortable sharing, how many of you talk down to yourselves? Yeah, almost all the room says they talk down to themselves. And by talking down to yourself, I'm including saying things to yourself like, you really screwed it up this time. You did poorly. And that's, if you're, you messed it up. Can't say what I wanted to
Probably
say.
stronger language.
Sorry, couldn't use stronger language. And my buddy Stuart Smalley's up there, because actually there is a practice you can do called distance self-talk. It is not exactly what Stuart Smalley's picture is about up there. It's just kind of the closest thing to it. So what is the next slide?
How can we help each other?
Oh, right. So
Previous slide.
distance self-talk is you can avoid using first-person pronouns when you're talking to yourself to try to get yourself out of that cycle. You can actually do something like using your name when you talk to yourself. And how would Sean solve this problem? It literally does transform how you feel about the issue. Maybe not in the moment, maybe later. How would Sean solve this problem? And it actually, in the story, I was the one that actually came up with that process to help solve that problem. So I didn't ask myself, well, how would Sean solve that problem? I was told, you have to solve this problem. And I worked on it. But
Is that where it's named after you?
what's that?
You should name it after yourself too.
I did not name it after myself. My boss named it after me. And it was very uncomfortable. Having to call the boss a gerbil, it was not fun. That actually probably was part of what led to the 30-year shame. Anyways, so why don't we all try some distanced self-talk? You can do that later, though. We can move on.
Oh, okay.
Unless you want to try distanced self-talk.
I don't know if Amanda's ready for that.
Okay. Is Sean. We can move on.
But depersonalization is good. It gives you distance. Because you sit and ruminate in it and you just can't get yourself out of it. Start moving and it just, okay. But maybe I can get some distance and just help for the moment. Something small.
Next slide.
Okay, how can we help each other? Aside from not making the silly faces from before.
Next slide. Text. How can we help people talk about it?
Let's go slide or husband.
Doesn't matter.
Are we giving people time and space to talk about their failures? Are we making that space for people? Are we saying, no, it's okay for you to talk about it. We're gonna take this time and do it. We're gonna carve it out. We're gonna go have lunch somewhere. We're gonna relax. We're gonna go to the terrace. We're gonna talk about this and without the shame, without the and away from the downstream, away from the guilt living.
Are we teaching people how to talk to management about it?
You got the next one?
Mandy looks at Sean.
I guess not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, are we helping people talk to management about it? Are there ways that we can back our colleagues up and help them figure out a way out of it?
How might we talk to management about it?
Yeah, he screwed up, but look at the lesson he learned.
That's talking about management.
Uh, So one of the ways we can talk to management about it is actually looking at the constructive solution to whatever the mistake or whatever the failure happened to be. Are there guardrails we can help management put into place? Are there activities we can undertake that prevent something like this from happening in the future? I think part of working through the issue is showing that you've actually learned from it.
To personalize what happened,
Yes, that's probably why they asked that on every job interview.
Yes, and everyone who has been through a job interview, which I would imagine is pretty much all of you, gets asked the question. Tell me a time where you did not exactly succeed in what you had set out to do.
What you learn.
And how did you handle that? That second part is important. Sometimes it's not asked, it's always implied that you need to be talking about that part in that section.
next slide.
Okay, and then building resilient systems, which a lot of people in this room do, and I'm hoping that you'll have some stories about what guardrails you've put into place, like your backup's only as good as the fact that it could actually work.
Yeah, or the three-way communication that we implemented at the help desk, that actually is. I pointed out nuclear power before because I actually did work in a nuclear power plant. That's another one of my jobs. I did not mess up, like, I did not shut down that company. I only worked during outages, which, anyways, so, that's one sector example. Another sector where three-way communication is broadly used is medicine, in particular surgery. So, surgeons talk through their surgery, surgical techs talk through their surgery. They talk through what's going on in the room, they talk through what's going into the patient. They talk through, more importantly, what's coming out of the patient. They talk with the patient before they sedate them, confirming with the patient, you're here for this, right? And sometimes they try to trip you up. You're here for us to take a look at this on your left leg. No, it's my right. Yes, I know that. I was just confirming that it's your right leg that we're going to be working on today. Yes.
Check the checklists for flight, pre-flight checklists too.
Yeah, pre-flight, post-flight, in-flight checklists. Yep. Yes.
So when in doubt, make a checklist. Okay,
Next slide.
and then celebrate it. I mean, somebody screws up, what do you do?
I got lunch.
Woo.
The CEO handed me a card for free lunch. It's like, okay, now that I can go home and take a shower because I'm sweating bullets because I thought I was gonna get fired. I actually went and got lunch, and then came home and my wife's like, you came home at the regular time today. I was like, yeah, she's like, so you didn't get fired? I was like, no, she's like, you always come home stressed. I did not that day. It's one of the days I didn't.
Okay, I have completely forgotten where celebrating failure.
Yes,
Even up there on the slide.
it is.
Okay,
What stories might you be willing
Yes.
to share
about
today?
celebrating failure, about ways you screwed up, about anything.
What you have learned?
Text. Tell us your stories.
Anyone?
So I have a very relevant one too, but maybe it's still sound good. My name's Jennifer, I work in cybersecurity for the league. I know me, no, I'm pretty well loose with the rules. So speaking of mainframe, my first gig on campus, I worked in I was the overnight operator at the network operations center, and one of the jobs, like 13 years ago, is we rebooted the mainframe. Which like, it's our job to log in, shut it down, start the new day. Well, we're supposed to go at 4 a.m. and guess what forgot? It went for the first few months, right? So I actually have no idea what the process was. I just know I'm supposed to type in these commands at that time. So basically what happened, I didn't even know about it, right? Because I left at 7:30 in the morning. And then the next day, when I came in that night, my boss like, did you forget to do something last night? I don't remember. Yeah, 8 o'clock, my phone starts ringing off the hook because the University of Wisconsin-Madison could not take any financial transactions from 8 a.m. over around. But what I took away from that though was how he handled it. He was kind about it. And he said, people were upset, yes, but I told them that everyone is new at one point in time, and this is her learning period, so they can back up off of you. And I still remember to this day that the safety that he brought me, and that's the lesson that I took away from that to make it feel safe for other people in the States. Which is why I just to tell people, just blame me 9 out of 10 times, you're possibly, I kind of have a reputation for being Scott. Awesome.
Text. How can we put some celebration around failure to help people talk about it and not feel so alone? Sean and Mandy look at the audience.
Hi, I'm Dan. I work a couple feet away from Amanda. Space Science Engineering building in the accounting department. You forgot. First real job I got out of college, as within the first 2 weeks, I think. Working in the database, going through the copying the data over to the reporting database, all managed to get their very important numbers, and runaway SQL statement just wiped out everything. And just white face, Knuckles walked into the boss's office, says, "What happened?" I don't know, I'm so sorry. He leaned out the door and then Patrick, it happened. Patrick looks like whoop, spun in his chair. They had a routine anytime someone really did their first big screw up, they celebrated it, they went out for lunch. Nice. And they said, we have backups, this happens, that's why we have backups, systems were in place, people were there to catch that for their employees, and just there's never an issue. So I don't know, that's a way to do it right, I think, because since then I've had different managers that occasionally that doesn't happen, but that stuck with me for a bit.
Awesome.
Sean and Mandy stand at the front of the room in front of the screen. They look at the audience.
What's 27?
Oh, yeah, I have so many of these, but one of them is I was working at the University of Montana and was tasked with emailing everyone on campus, just this kind of blanket email, and it was like, okay, no problem. And but at that time there weren't like hand systems that would do that or boilerplate or anything. They just get a record set, look through it, send the email. But I was speaking in Visual Basic, which if at the end of a loop, you have to put next on the next one to move to the next record set. Instead, while I was testing it, I was a student who wanted to just single send to myself. And I had next commented out. I went to run it in production, ran it, and realized that I had emailed the same person 27,000 times.
Sorry for laughing.
So I got all of the IT group, and luckily they could just delete them. And then I went to the person's office and said, "Hey, sorry about that." And we ended up going to lunch. So this lunch thing is a consistent thing. But anyway, we ended up going to lunch, had a great conversation, and I learned to always put in a constant in my code to say, this is the test run, and then have everything that was to help with deal with the test run. That.
So, Alina, I work within Center for User Experiences, the digital system program manager right now. I have a lot of doing similarity to the folks that have done things like done the SQL problem as well, for sure. Spent a long time as a developer. I've been on campus for about 15 years now. So I was thinking just to switch things up a little bit, which from a standpoint of was it a failure within a technical standpoint? In this case, it was a failure from a communication standpoint for me. I was, I think, on my first or second year in Cal. So Connor, I think I barely even met you yet at that point. But the funny thing is I was given the opportunity to talk to a bunch of researchers. And I even roped in Nick Weaver from, I don't know if he's here, but roped in Nick Weaver from Stratcom. So I owe him many lunches to go back to this because he stuck his neck out for me to be there as well. And I think in this scenario, what was really funny about it was
we were talking about best practices, we're publishing online, getting your information out there, kind of being good communicators, that sort of thing. I came at it being from sort of too young into this sort of mode of thinking, what is the best way to communicate online? And I'm thinking from a very singular point of view. And I hadn't taken the moment to really properly think about what they're trying to accomplish. And so, of course, I gave the recommendation of, as far as producing titles, if they're being published externally, should be concise. Think about these things, make sure that they're easy to grab and get attention.
Oh, no, not
Telling a bunch of researchers to be concise. The titles did not go over well. And I saw Nick just sort of slowly walking away. And I was just like, yeah, I definitely said the wrong thing. So needless to say, it definitely stuck out, I think, in the wrong way to a lot of folks and learned a good lesson that day. But yeah, to go back to, I think, going out to lunch with all those folks who've been good at, and maybe that's, anyway.
Sean and Mandy look around at the audience.
Cliff Cunningham, learned at UW. Sean, I feel your pain. I'm still nursing a shameful moment in my professional past, and I've talked about it much, and I will leave it vague. But I do offer two services with this story. One is that sometimes it's not grand, sometimes the mistake is not big money or highly visible. It's just very personal. And in my scenario, I unwittingly insulted a teammate within like a week of being there.
Ow.
Spare the details. And then the other thing I wish to teach is that sometimes it does not go well. They were immediately ready to see me ushered out. It took 11 weeks because they had to build their little paper trail of my failures. So it was a really sucky following 10 weeks of getting to that final exit interview. But anyway, it just gets back to the business about talking to yourself and your self-talk and kind of forgiving yourself or cutting yourself some slack and understanding that life goes on. There will be jobs, there will be many things to come along later on, and just don't get too consumed by it. No money though, I didn't lose any money, so what? So,
Got tipped out though.
yeah.
You want to move on to Q&A? Do you have time for more stories?
I have one story. So about 2010, I started on a project is software development, building an app, and it took me about 5 years to build this app because the requirements all changed. Of course, different people had different things. The scope got all wild. But I was also standing up in meetings and talking about the bugs that I fixed that week, or the feature that I was working on that wasn't quite going as well as I needed to. Leadership doesn't want to hear that, and it took me years to figure out, okay, why are people glomming onto this? And even after 5 years of deployment, nobody was using this thing because I didn't know how to talk it. Like, okay, where is that on the scale of failures? And I got to figure out how to talk about this thing, but also leadership isn't helping me either. So I'm still not clear as to where the actual failure is. So, but it did get me out here, and it got me working on my public speaking skills and thinking about, okay, what audience am I talking to? And now I can stand up here and do this. So, do we have Q&A? I don't.
If you want Q&A.
What questions did you all have?
No, we didn't plan the shirt stick. And you can see stories are still fair game too.
Maybe this is the wrong question to ask, but how do you get other people to realize that they failed? Because as we've talked about, part of the you have to learn from it. So first you have to acknowledge the failure. And sometimes I see what I see a lot is going straight to the defense without kind of the reflection in between. And poking at it more just makes it more defensive. So just kind of how to kind of prompt that in other people.
Oof. Wow, that's a good question.
The person off screen hands a microphone back to Sean.
So I think my initial response to that is probably something that you have already tried, which is, being subtle. Maybe, I'm not suggesting that you weren't, but maybe asking someone, did you intend for this to
Walk
be
me
like
through your
this?
thought
Yeah.
process here.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, it's a tough question to answer. I don't know that we'll be able to answer it today.
I think
I would say
depersonalizing.
the opposite, be direct. No, but be direct privately with the person so you're not embarrassing. Bring up what they did, don't it. Talk about it candidly. Bring up everyone makes mistakes. Fine. This is how we're gonna learn from it. But you can't dance around it. That's just being a bad man.
But if you're not their manager.
Then, yeah.
So you think about the lunch.
Sean steps off screen.
Bring facts.
Take out the attention.
Sorry, I'm being told I should bring the microphone.
I was just saying, bring facts. Right, that's the undisputable, that it's not your ideas of a failure or not, it's what were the expectations, the outcomes, and talk with that, that's the uncomfortable conversation sort of checklist, right? Start with facts.
And it is very hard to take the attention out of somebody screwed up and you're like, were you trying to get us all in trouble today? It's just try to take that moment to have this passionate honesty with the person rather than brutal honesty.
Hi, my name is Ava. I work at the libraries, and one of the pleasures of my job is getting to work with a lot of student staff. So I'm wondering, is there an approach that you would recommend to help students through, especially student staff through failures versus like permanent staff? Because student staff are only able to, depending on if they're from here or if they're international, to work 20 to 29 hours a week. So, and we are also not their number one priority because they are students. Is there ways that we can nudge them and help them, but also realizing that, again, this isn't their number one priority, even though it might be ours?
But defer to Sean because he's managed students before.
Thanks.
Sean returns to the front.
So seriously, if you can do this, I would encourage you to enlist other students in your effort, if you can. So one of the reasons we had the management structure that we did I'm speaking past tense because I have not been there for 6 years, but in our Do It Help Desk, we had essentially an entire student leadership structure. And I know not all areas, not most areas can have this, but even if it's just kind of colloquially enlisting another of their colleagues to be able to work with them on that. That might be a tactic you can use to try to get them to learn what you're expecting them to learn.
Steve.
Oh, we need the mic.
Okay.
Laurel says,
You guys want to
needs a mic.
The person carries a microphone across the room.
Steve Barnett with the Ice Cube Project. And one of the things to answer your question is, especially for new or younger staff, is giving them a little bit of perspective, right? I mean, somebody at one point, it was a great thing, and I do this, particularly if we have a big blow up or something, when we're looking at it, we're putting the facts on the whiteboard, babies ain't dying, right? So unless you're in the hospital, the babies are dying, right? But, this is a problem. Babies ain't dying. Okay, so, but just to try to put this in the perspective of saying, hey, wait a minute, this looks really bad right now, right? But we're gonna get through it, and we're gonna take some time and figure out what's going on. We're gonna move to the solution. And we're gonna walk through that, and at the end, we're gonna have a postmortem and say, hey, what went wrong? Right, and what do we learn from it? And most of the time, what you learn from it is that you didn't have the guardrails in place. Right, that's the big part. And people make mistakes, so you have to anticipate that. And especially with new people, because they don't know where all the little landmines are that everybody else is learning to kind of tap dance around. So, but giving them that perspective that this is not the end of the world, because especially when you're new or when you're young, everything seems like, oh my God, believe me, we're nowhere near catastrophic yet, but they don't know that.
We have time for maybe one more question or comment. No, we can handle over.
Moving this back, also,
We've got
you
a
could also
comment
give a
here
presentation
from,
about
yeah, an online comment.
From Matt, I try to provide grace to other people in failure when possible, but many times I've experienced people get defensive on their own, and my grace can sometimes, hold on, I need to scroll this. And my grace can sometimes be misconstrued as condescension. Not sure this is a question, but a factor to consider when responding to those who are making mistakes. It's a balancing act.
The slideshow returns to condescension.
Thanks.
In a black and white photo on the slide, Mandy makes a face of condescension with furrowed eyebrows and curled lips.
Am I supposed to talk about this? No. I don't, yeah, if people get defensive, that's hard. And we have a few tactics we talked about, that depersonalization, that talking about the impact, talking about the facts, not assuming intent. Really sort of, we do this yes and leadership improv, because okay, it's not me versus you, it's us versus the problem. Or us versus the situation, us versus, how can we learn from this, rather than this way. And hopefully that can help take the.
Yeah, Amanda and I had a little debate, as we were putting this together, whether we were going to actually force you all to stand up and do some leadership improv activities, because we were thinking about it. I chose to take us a different direction. Sorry.
Okay, all good? All right, well, we got one more comment?
Do we?
One more comment?
You might.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, these are.
Sean, I would just like to apologize to you on behalf of software developers everywhere. It should not be possible to transpose 2 digits in a form and cause a problem like that that they serve.
Sean is handed the microphone.
Thank you for No, it was bad design by IBM. Let's call it like it is. Let's blame Big Blue. Thank you all for attending. We really.
The slideshow screen goes to black. Sean and Mandy turn and walk off screen.